Admiral Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. He nearly dropped his cup as red lights flashed across the orbital defense platform's control room. 20 years in space defense, and Jake had never heard alarms this loud. What's happening? Jake shouted over the noise as he ran to the main console. Lieutenant, Peters pointed at the massive display screen with shaking hands. Sir, we have contacts. Big ones. They just appeared at the edge of our solar system. Jake stared at the screen. 200 massive shapes hung in space near Pluto's orbit. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. Each ship looked like it could swallow New York City whole. Are you sure these readings are correct? Jake asked, his voice steady despite his racing heart. Yes, sir. The computers have checked 3 times. Those ships are real, and they're not ours. Jake grabbed his communication headset. Get me Dr. Amy Patterson, immediately. We need our best language expert up here now. Within minutes, Dr. Patterson arrived at the platform. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes were sharp and focused. She had spent her whole career studying how different cultures might communicate. Today, that work would be tested like never before. Have they tried to contact us? Amy asked as she sat down at the communication station. Not yet, Jake replied. But something that big doesn't just show up without a reason. General Ryan Clark's voice crackled through the speakers from Earth. Jake, we're seeing the same readings down here. The President wants answers. What are we dealing with? Before Jake could answer, the communication board lit up. A signal was coming from the alien fleet. Amy's fingers flew over the controls, trying to decode the transmission. I'm getting something, she said. It's complex, but there are patterns. Give me a few minutes. The patterns slowly became clearer. The aliens were using mathematics and basic physics to build a language bridge. Amy worked faster than she ever had before. Lives might depend on understanding this message. Got it, Amy said finally. They're requesting a communication channel. They want to talk. Jake looked at General Clark's image on the screen. Should we answer? The President says yes. But be careful. Amy opened the channel. The main screen flickered, then showed something that made everyone in the room step back. A tall figure appeared, covered in smooth gray skin. Its eyes were large and dark, and it wore what looked like military armor. When it spoke, the words came through the translation system Amy had quickly built. I am High Commander Velther, the Zephyrian Galactic Empire, the alien said. Its voice was cold and emotionless. You will identify yourselves. Jake stepped forward. I am Admiral Jake Morrison of Earth Defense Command. This is our solar system. Who are you and what do you want? Velther's expression didn't change. We are the rightful rulers of this galaxy. We have come to bring your world into our empire. You will submit to our authority. Amy translated quickly, making sure every word was correct. Jake felt his anger rising, but he kept his voice calm. We are not interested in joining your empire. Please leave our system peacefully. The alien commander made a sound that might have been laughter. Your world has been evaluated. You possess primitive technology, chemical rockets, basic nuclear weapons. You have not even achieved faster-than-light travel. You are like children, playing with sticks. General Clark's voice came through the speakers. Jake, President Lisa Martinez is here. Put this on the main Earth frequency. The conversation was now being broadcast to every world leader on Earth. President Martinez stepped into view at Jake's location, having just arrived by emergency transport. I am President Martinez, leader of Earth's governments, she said firmly. We demand that you leave our system immediately. Velther's large eyes seemed to focus on her with what looked like amusement. In our long history, we have conquered 847 worlds. Every single one submitted when they understood our power. Your resistance is ... curious. The alien commander gestured, and the screen showed images of massive battles, planets burning, cities destroyed, entire civilizations kneeling before Zephyrian forces. We possess weapons that can crack planets in half, Velther continued. Our shields deflect all known energy weapons. Our ships travel between stars in days. Against us, your people are insects. Captain Luke Hayes, Earth's military liaison, had been listening quietly. Now he stepped forward, his jaw set with determination. Commander Velther, Luke said, his voice carrying across space. You seem to misunderstand something about humans. We don't kneel to anyone. You will have 72 hours to consider. Surrender, Velther replied. After that time, we will begin pacification of your world. Resistance will only increase your suffering. The alien was about to end the transmission when Luke spoke again. His words would echo across the galaxy and change everything. No, Luke said simply. Stand down and withdraw from our system immediately. This is your only warning. The silence that followed seemed to last forever. Velther stared at the screen as if he couldn't believe what he had heard. In 847 conquests, no primitive world had ever given the Zephyrian Empire a warning. You warn us? Velther finally said. That's right, Luke replied. Leave now, or face the consequences. The transmission ended abruptly. On the Zephyrian flagship, Velther turned to his officers. They looked as confused as he felt. High Commander. One of them said, Surely they cannot be serious. Velther studied the readings from Earth. Chemical rockets. Nuclear weapons barely capable of destroying cities. No energy shields. No faster-than-light capability. No species this primitive has ever threatened us, he said slowly. Perhaps fear has made them lose their minds. Back on the orbital platform, Jake looked at his team. Amy was already working on improving their translation systems. Captain Hayes was reviewing Earth's defensive capabilities. President Martinez was coordinating with world leaders. Sir, Lieutenant Peters said quietly, do you think they'll really leave? Jake looked at the massive alien fleet on his screen. 200 ships that could probably destroy Earth's entire civilization. But something in Captain Hayes' words had felt right. Humans didn't kneel. I don't know, Jake replied. But they've been warned. High Commander Velther stood in the war room of his flagship, surrounded by his top officers. The massive command center hummed with activity as Zephyrian military experts analyzed Earth's defenses. What they found made them laugh. High Commander, said War Captain Zithel, pointing at the display screen. Look at their orbital stations. They're held together with metal bolts. Their weapons are chemical explosives. This is more primitive than anything we've seen in 300 years. Velther studied the human installations floating around Earth. Compared to Zephyrian technology, they looked like toys built by children. The humans had rockets that barely reached their own moon. Their most powerful weapons could destroy a city, while Zephyrian planet crackers could split worlds in half. They threatened us, said another officer, still chuckling. A species that burns chemical fuel to reach space actually gave us a warning. Velther watched recordings of the human captain who had spoken so boldly. Luke Hayes looked young and confident, but he commanded forces that wouldn't last 5 minutes against a single Zephyrian destroyer. Perhaps they don't understand what they're facing, Velther said. In our experience, primitive worlds often react with bravado when first contacted. Fear makes them say foolish things. Shall we begin the attack? Asked War Captain Zithel. Not yet. Give them another day to think about surrender. Sometimes terror needs time to grow. On Earth, President Lisa Martinez sat in the Emergency Command Center deep beneath Washington. Around the table sat leaders from every major nation. The Room buzzed with urgent conversations in dozens of languages. "We should negotiate," said the German chancellor. "These aliens have conquered hundreds of worlds. We can't fight them." "And become slaves?" replied the Japanese prime minister. "I'd rather die fighting." President Martinez raised her hand for silence. "We need more information before making any decisions." "Colonel Rodriguez, what can you tell us about our real defensive capabilities?" Colonel Matt Rodriguez stood up slowly. He was a quiet man who rarely spoke in meetings, but today his words would change everything. Matt had spent 15 years running the most secret project in human history. "Madam President, what I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest level. Most of you have never heard of Project Deep Strike." The room fell silent. Matt activated a holographic display that showed details most of the world leaders had never imagined. "For the past 40 years, we've been recovering crashed alien spacecraft. Not from these Zephyrians, but from others who visited Earth in secret. We've been studying their technology and preparing for exactly this situation." The French president leaned forward. "You're saying we already have alien technology?" "More than that," Matt replied. "We've improved it. Dr. Kate Sullivan, our head of theoretical physics, can explain better than I can." Dr. Kate Sullivan stepped up to the display. She was young for such an important position, but her work had revolutionized human understanding of advanced physics. "The alien visitors we studied were from different civilizations," Kate began. "We learned that most species develop technology in predictable patterns. They discover fire, then metals, then electricity, then space travel. It's very orderly. But humans are different?" asked the Brazilian president. "Very different. We skip steps. We combine ideas in ways that don't make sense to other species. While they build better versions of the same tools, we create entirely new approaches to problems." Kate activated new displays showing strange-looking devices and weapons. They didn't look like anything the leaders recognized. "We've built hybrid systems that combine human engineering with alien physics. The result is technology that even advanced species won't expect." President Martinez studied the displays. "Are you saying we can actually fight these Zephyrians?" "I'm saying we've been preparing for them," Kate replied. "Or someone like them." Meanwhile, Commander Dan Foster was busy in a secret facility hidden inside an asteroid belt. For years, he had been building and positioning defensive weapons throughout the solar system. The Zephyrians thought they were facing a primitive civilization with basic rockets and nuclear weapons. They had no idea what was really waiting for them. "Status report," Dan spoke into his communicator. "All platforms online," came the reply from engineer Emma Walsh. "The Zephyrians are scanning for threats, but they're looking for the wrong things." Emma had designed the cloaking systems that hid Earth's real defenses. The aliens were scanning for energy signatures and metal structures that matched their own technology. They weren't looking for the strange hybrid devices that humans had created. "How long until we can activate everything?" Dan asked. 6 hours, Emma replied. "The power cores are still charging. These weapons use a lot of energy." Dan looked at his display showing the Zephyrian fleet. 200 massive warships hung in space like sleeping giants. Soon they would wake up and discover that humans had prepared a very unpleasant surprise. Back on the Zephyrian flagship, Velther received a new report from his intelligence officers. "High Commander, we've completed our scan of the human solar system. They have approximately 50 orbital platforms, 200 primitive spacecraft, and several thousand nuclear weapons. Total threat level is classified as minimal." Velther nodded. It was exactly what he had expected. "What about their ground defenses?" "Basic missile systems and aircraft that cannot reach space. Nothing that poses a threat to our forces." "Very well. Prepare a demonstration of our power. Destroy their moon. When the humans see what happens to a world that defies us, they'll surrender quickly. As the Zephyrian crews prepared their planet-cracking weapon, they felt confident and relaxed. This would be another easy conquest to add to their long list of victories. The humans had given them a warning, but warnings from insects meant nothing to giants. On Earth, Captain Luke Hayes received final confirmation that all secret systems were ready. He opened a communication channel to President Martinez. Madam President, Project Deep Strike is fully operational. All hidden platforms are armed and ready. Our hybrid defense grid is online. And you believe this will work? The President asked. Luke looked at the readings from their advanced sensors. The Zephyrians were charging their main weapon, probably planning to destroy the moon as a show of force. It was exactly what Earth's defenders had hoped they would try. Madam President, Luke said with a slight smile, they're about to learn that humans don't scare easily. The stage was set. The Zephyrians believed they faced helpless primitives. Earth's defenders knew better. In a few hours, the galaxy would discover that humanity had been preparing for this moment far longer than anyone imagined. The real battle was about to begin. The 72-hour deadline passed with no word from Earth. High Commander Velther stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue planet spin slowly in the distance. He had given the humans every chance to surrender peacefully. Now, they would learn the price of defying the Zephyrian Empire. Begin the advance, Velther ordered. All ships move to attack formation. 200 massive warships started moving toward Earth like a dark cloud blotting out the stars. Each ship was over a mile long and armed with weapons that could level mountains. The formation looked unstoppable as it crossed the solar system. On Earth's orbital defense platform, Admiral Jake Morrison watched the approaching fleet on his screens. The alien ships moved with perfect precision, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight. They looked beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Admiral, Lieutenant Peters said quietly, they're targeting our moon. Jake nodded. He had expected this. The Zephyrians wanted to break human morale before the real fighting began. Destroying the moon would show Earth's people that resistance was hopeless. Sir, Peters continued, should we evacuate the lunar colonies? All ready? Done, Jake replied. Everyone was moved to Earth yesterday. The lead Zephyrian dreadnought, Velther's flagship, positioned itself for the demonstration. Its planet-cracking weapon began to charge with energy that made space itself seem to ripple. The weapon was designed to split worlds in half with a single shot. Human vessels, came Velther's voice over the communication system. Observe what happens to those who resist the Empire. The massive weapon reached full charge. Energy danced along the dreadnought's hull like lightning. Every human watching held their breath. In seconds, Earth's moon would be destroyed as a warning. Fire, Velther commanded, the planet cracker, unleashed its devastating beam toward the moon. The energy blast was bright enough to be seen from Earth's surface. It looked like a spear of pure destruction cutting through space. Then something impossible happened. Hidden defense satellites that had been invisible to Zephyrian scanners suddenly appeared around the moon. Dozens of them materialized as their cloaking systems shut down. They had been waiting in silence for exactly this moment. Captain Ben Parker, commanding the satellite defense network from a secret base on Mars, smiled as he activated Earth's first surprise. All stations, weapons free, Ben ordered. Show them what human engineering can do. The defense satellites opened fire with weapons the Zephyrians had never seen before. The beams that shot out looked wrong somehow, as if they bent the rules of physics. They were human-built weapons powered by alien technology, but designed with human creativity. The planet cracker beam hit the satellites and simply disappeared. The weapons that could destroy worlds were absorbed and redirected by Earth's hybrid technology. The moon remained untouched. "Impossible," whispered War Captain Zithil on the Zephyrian flagship. But the impossible was just beginning. The defense satellites turned their strange weapons on the Zephyrian fleet. Energy beams that should have been stopped by Imperial shields passed right through them like they weren't there. The lead dreadnought shuddered as human weapons found their target. Alarms began screaming throughout the Zephyrian fleet as systems that had never failed before started shutting down. "Shields are not responding," reported a Zephyrian technician. "These weapons are using unknown physics." Lieutenant Sam Crawford, coordinating the counterattack from Earth's command center, watched the results with satisfaction. Years of studying crashed alien ships had taught humans how Imperial shields worked. Dr. Kate Sullivan's team had built weapons specifically designed to bypass them. "Phase 2, Sam announced. "Release the fleet." What happened next shocked the Zephyrians even more than the satellite attack. Throughout the asteroid belt, large chunks of rock began moving. But they weren't asteroids at all. They were human. Ships that had been hiding in plain sight, Commander Dan Foster's hidden fleet, emerged from their rocky disguises. The ships looked crude and mismatched compared to sleek Zephyrian vessels. Some were built from salvaged alien hulls. Others were constructed with human steel and alien engines. They looked like junk, but they were armed with the same hybrid weapons as the satellites. "All ships, attack formation," Dan ordered. "Let's teach these invaders about human hospitality." The hidden fleet charged toward the Zephyrian formation. To the aliens, it looked like suicide. These rough-built human ships were attacking warships that had conquered hundreds of worlds. But as the two fleets clashed, the Zephyrians discovered another shocking truth. The human ships were fast, impossibly fast. They darted between the massive alien vessels like angry wasps, striking with weapons that cut through Imperial armor like paper. Velthur watched in growing horror as his perfect formation fell apart. Ships that had never been damaged in battle were exploding around him. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were winning. How is this possible? He demanded Dr. Jill Thompson, working from a hidden laboratory deep in Earth's ocean, was ready with the answer. She had been waiting for the perfect moment to trigger humanity's second surprise. Electromagnetic pulse in 3, 2, 1. Jill announced that every piece of human technology in the solar system had been hardened against electromagnetic interference. The Zephyrian equipment had not. When Jill activated her massive pulse generator, it sent waves of energy throughout the battlefield. Half the Zephyrian fleet suddenly went dark. Their targeting systems failed. Their communications died. Their weapons stopped working. Ships that had been firing moments before drifted helplessly. "In space, status report," Velthur shouted, but his own systems were flickering on and off. 50% of the fleet is disabled," came a weak reply. "We're blind and defenseless." The human fleet pressed their advantage. Ships that had seemed crude and primitive moments before now moved with deadly precision. They targeted the disabled. Zephyrian vessels with weapons that should not have existed. Admiral Jake Morrison opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. His voice carried across space with quiet confidence. "Commander Velthur, this is Admiral Morrison. You came to our home uninvited. You threatened our people. You tried to destroy our moon. Now you're learning what humans do to bullies." Velthur, psst. Flagship was still functional, but barely. Around him, the pride of the Zephyrian Empire was being torn apart by ships, built in asteroid workshops and armed with weapons that defied galactic military science. "This cannot be happening," Velthur said to himself. "We have conquered 800 worlds. We are the most powerful force in the galaxy." Captain Luke Hayes appeared on Velthur's communication screen. The young human officer looked calm and determined. "Commander," Luke said, You made a mistake. You thought we were primitives because we hadn't developed faster-than-light travel. But we spent that time learning how to fight. Every species you conquered gave up quickly. Humans don't give up at all. The battle that was supposed to end in minutes had turned into a disaster for the Zephyrian Empire. Their fleet was scattered and broken. Their most advanced ships were being destroyed by humans who weren't supposed to be able to hurt them. For the first time in his military career, High Commander Velther was forced to give an order he had never imagined speaking. "All ships," he said quietly, "retreat to safe distance." As the surviving Zephyrian vessels limped away from Earth, they carried news that would shake the galaxy. The humans had not just resisted the Empire. They had made it retreat. High Commander Velther tried to understand what had gone wrong. His fleet had retreated to the outer edge of the solar system, but the humans hadn't stopped attacking. They were still coming, like angry wolves chasing wounded prey. "War Captain Zithil," Velther called out, "explain to me how primitives with chemical rockets have destroyed 60 of our ships." Zithil looked at his damage reports with confusion. "High Commander, their tactics make no sense. They should be following standard military procedures, but they're doing everything wrong." "Wrong how?" "They attack our strongest ships instead of our weakest ones. They sacrifice their own vessels to damage ours. They board our ships when they should retreat. It's like they don't understand how war is supposed to work." Velther watched the tactical display as more human ships approached his damaged fleet. These weren't the hidden vessels from the asteroid belt. These were new ships, built quickly in orbital shipyards while the battle raged. The humans were building weapons faster than the Zephyrians could destroy them. "Sir," came a panicked voice from the communication station, "we're receiving boarding signals. The humans are attempting to capture the cruiser Ventnor." Major Alex Turner led the boarding party through the hole his ship had blown in the Zephyrian cruiser's hull. Behind him came 20 human Marines, all volunteers who knew they might not survive this mission. The Zephyrian interior was sleek and clean, with smooth walls and soft lighting. It looked more like a luxury hotel than a warship. Alex had studied alien psychology for years, and he knew exactly how to use this against them. "Remember the plan," Alex told his team through their communication system. "These aliens have conquered hundreds of worlds through intimidation. They've never faced an enemy that fights back with everything they have." The first group of Zephyrian soldiers they encountered surrendered immediately when they saw the humans coming. This confused Alex until he realized why. The aliens expected captured enemies to be treated according to galactic military conventions. They had rules about prisoners and surrender. Humans didn't follow those rules. "Secure this section," Alex ordered. "Johnson, get to their engine room. Martinez, take the bridge. Everyone else, make noise. Lots of noise." The humans spread through the ship like a virus, but they weren't just trying to capture it. They were doing something the Zephyrians had never experienced. They were making the ship a terrifying place to be. Alex's team didn't just fight the alien crew. They used psychological warfare that made the Zephyrians panic. They played loud human music through the ship's speakers. They painted human symbols on the walls. They made the aliens feel like their own ship no longer belonged to them. "This is irregular," said the Zephyrian ship captain when Alex reached the bridge. "Captured vessels should be secured quietly and efficiently." Alex looked at the alien officer with eyes that showed no mercy. "Captain, you came to our home to make us slaves. We don't do things quietly." On another damaged Zephyrian ship, Commander Maya Rivers was demonstrating something else that terrified the aliens. While Zephyrian military doctrine followed the same patterns they had used for centuries, humans changed their tactics every few minutes. Mia's ship had been heavily damaged in the first attack, but instead of retreating for repairs, she had turned it into a weapon. Her crew had rigged the engines to explode, then rammed the ship directly into a Zephyrian dreadnought dot at the last second. Mia and her crew escaped in small pods, leaving their ship to destroy itself and take the enemy vessel with it. It was a tactic no civilized species would consider, but it worked perfectly. "Status report," Mia called out as her rescue ship picked up the escape pods. "The dreadnought is completely destroyed," came the reply. "No survivors." "Good. What's our next target?" Back on the Zephyrian flagship, Velther was receiving reports that made no sense to him. His military training had prepared him for conventional warfare between civilized species. This was something else entirely. "High Commander," said his intelligence officer, "the humans are using their damaged ships as bombs. They're turning their own wounded vessels into suicide weapons." "That's impossible. No species sacrifices valuable resources so carelessly. Sir, they've also captured 3 of our cruisers. But instead of trying to repair them, they're stripping out the weapons and installing them on new human ships." Velther stared at the tactical display. The human fleet was growing stronger, while his own fleet grew weaker. But it wasn't just the numbers that worried him. It was the way the humans fought. Every species the Zephyrians had conquered fought according to predictable patterns. They protected their most valuable ships. They followed military traditions. They tried to minimize casualties. Humans did none of these things. They treated every ship as expendable if it could damage the enemy. They ignored military traditions completely. They seemed to view casualties as acceptable losses if they led to victory. "Sir," came another report, "the humans have begun targeting our command ships specifically. They're hunting our officers." This was another violation of galactic military convention. Civilized species tried to disable enemy fleets, not kill their leadership. But the humans were actively hunting Zephyrian commanders like they were dangerous animals. Captain Luke Hayes appeared on Velther's communication screen. The human looked tired but determined. "Commander Velther," Luke said, "I wanted you to understand something. Every world you've conquered gave up when they realized they couldn't win. Humans don't care if we can't win. We care about making you regret coming here." Velther found this statement disturbing. "You're willing to die for nothing?" "We're willing to die to protect our home. That's not nothing to us." The communication ended, leaving Velther alone with his thoughts. In 847 conquests, the Zephyrian Empire had never faced an enemy like this. Most species surrendered when they realized resistance was hopeless. Humans seemed to fight harder when the odds were against them. "War Captain," Velther said slowly, "how many ships do we have left?" 112 operational vessels, Zithel replied. 38 more are damaged but repairable. "And the humans?" "We don't know, sir. They keep building new ships. Their construction rate has increased by 300% since the battle began." Velther realized something that chilled him to his core. This wasn't a simple conquest anymore. This was a fight for survival. The humans weren't just defending themselves. They were trying to destroy his entire fleet. For the first time in Zephyrian history, an Imperial invasion force was losing to a primitive world. Worse than losing, they were being hunted by an enemy that seemed to grow more dangerous with every hour that passed. "Major Alex," Turner's voice came over the communication system from the captured cruiser. "Commander Velther, this is Major Turner of Earth Defense. We've taken your ship, and we're coming for the rest of your fleet. You wanted to show us the power of your empire. Now we're going to show you the power of humans who refuse to kneel." Velther looked at his remaining ships and realized that for the first time in his military career, he was afraid. Not afraid of dying, but afraid of losing to an enemy that shouldn't have been able to fight back at all. The myth of Zephyrian invincibility was cracking, and the humans were just getting started. High Commander Velther sat in his command chair, staring at reports that told an impossible story. In 3 days of fighting, his mighty invasion fleet had been reduced to less than half its original strength. 68 ships destroyed, 47 captured by human boarding parties, and the rest damaged and barely functional. "High Commander," said War Captain Zithel, his voice shaking, "we're receiving another human transmission." Velther closed his eyes. Every human message brought worse news. They didn't negotiate like civilized species. They didn't offer terms for surrender. They simply told the Zephyrians what would happen next. "Put it through," Velther said tiredly. Admiral Tony Blake appeared on the screen. The human admiral looked calm and confident, standing on the bridge of a ship that hadn't existed a week ago. The humans were building new vessels faster than the Zephyrians could count them. "Commander Velther," Tony said in a voice that carried. "No anger, only certainty. This is your final warning. You have 1 hour to begin withdrawal from our solar system. After that, we will hunt down every ship in your fleet." "You cannot destroy us all," Velther replied. Though his voice lacked conviction, Tony smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant expression. "Commander, you still don't understand. We're not trying to destroy you all. We're trying to make sure that when you go home, you remember what happened here." The transmission ended, leaving Velther alone with his thoughts. Around him, his bridge crew worked quietly, afraid to speak. They had all heard the stories coming from the captured ships. The humans didn't just defeat their enemies. They made sure those enemies never forgot the experience. "Sir," said the communications officer, "we're receiving distress calls from the destroyer Kiflan. They say humans have boarded their ship and are playing something called heavy metal music at maximum volume throughout all decks." Velther rubbed his temples. The humans used sound as a weapon, turning captured ships into nightmares for their own crews. It was a form of psychological warfare that no civilized military had ever developed. "What about the cruiser Vorthek?" "Still no contact, sir. The last message said the humans had taken control of the bridge and were teaching the crew human curse words through the ship's translation system." This was the worst part for Velther. The humans weren't just winning the battle. They were humiliating the proud Zephyrian military in ways that would be talked about across the galaxy for generations. Dr. Zoe Adams, working from Earth's main research facility, was analyzing the psychological impact of the battle on both sides. Her reports would help Earth understand what they had accomplished. The Zephyrian military culture is based on overwhelming superiority, Zoe explained to President Beth Collins over a secure channel. They've never had to adapt to a losing situation because they've never lost before. "What does that mean for us?" the president asked. "It means they're completely unprepared for what's happening to them. Their entire command structure is breaking down because they don't know how to handle defeat." President Collins looked at the tactical displays, showing human ships surrounding the remaining Zephyrian fleet. "Are we winning, Dr. Adams?" "Madam President, we've already won. The question now is whether they're smart enough to realize it." On the edge of the solar system, Captain Nick Stevens commanded a small human patrol ship that was tracking fleeing Zephyrian vessels. Some of the alien ships had tried to escape individually, but human pursuit ships had hunted them down one by one. "Captain," said his weapons officer, "we have the Zephyrian scout ship Velcan on our sensors. They're requesting permission to leave the system." Nick opened a communication channel to the alien ship. The Zephyrian captain who appeared on screen looked defeated and exhausted. "Human vessel," the alien captain said, "we are leaving your system. We mean no harm to your people." "That's good to hear," Nick replied. "But before you go, I need you to understand something. When you get home, you need to tell everyone what happened here. Make sure they know that humans don't make empty threats." "I will tell them," the Zephyrian captain said quietly. "Make sure. You also tell them that we're not looking for trouble. But if anyone else comes to our home with hostile intentions, they'll get the same treatment you did." The alien scout ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying its message back toward Zephyrian territory. It would be the first of many ships bringing news of the impossible defeat. Back on the Zephyrian flagship, Velther made the hardest decision of his military career. He opened a fleet-wide communication channel to address his remaining commanders. "All ships," he said slowly, "prepare for immediate withdrawal from the human solar system. This operation is terminated." "High Commander," asked War Captain Ziffel, "what do we tell the High Council?" Velther thought about the proud Zephyrian leadership who had sent him to conquer another primitive world. How could he explain that the primitives had destroyed half his fleet and sent the rest running for their lives? "We tell them the truth," Velther said finally. "We tell them that humans are not to be disturbed, ever." As the surviving Zephyrian ships began their retreat, Admiral Jake Morrison opened one final communication channel from Earth's orbital platform. "Commander Velther," Jake said, "before you leave, there's something you should know. The weapons we used against you were built from technology we found in crashed ships from other civilizations. We've been preparing for visitors like you for 40 years. Velther listened with growing understanding. "You knew we were coming." "Not specifically you," Jake replied, "but we knew someone would come eventually. Humans have a saying, 'If you want peace, prepare for war.' We were ready for war, so we got peace." "Your species is dangerous," Velther said. "Only to those who threaten us," Jake answered. "We don't conquer other worlds. We don't enslave other species. We just want to be left alone. But anyone who won't leave us alone learns what you've learned." The last Zephyrian ship disappeared into hyperspace, leaving Earth's solar system quiet once again. But the effects of the battle would ripple across the galaxy for years to come. 3 months later, the first peaceful alien contact occurred when a small diplomatic ship approached Earth's borders. Commander Kara Wilson, now in charge of alien relations, granted them permission to enter the system. "Human authorities," came the transmission from the alien ship, "we represent the Andrian Federation. We come seeking peaceful trade and cultural exchange." "You're welcome in our system," Kara replied, "but understand our rules. Approach with respect, or don't approach at all." "We understand completely," the alien diplomat said. "We have heard the stories of what happened to the Zephyrian fleet. We come as friends, not conquerors." Word of Earth's victory had spread throughout the galaxy faster than anyone expected. The story grew with each telling. A primitive world that had told a galactic empire to stand down and then made it happen. Some species called it impossible. Others called it inspiring. But every civilization in the galaxy learned the same lesson. There was a small blue world in a distant spiral arm where humans lived, and those humans were not to be underestimated. Captain Luke Hayes, now promoted to admiral, looked out at the stars from Earth's newest orbital station. Somewhere out there, peaceful aliens were learning about human culture and technology. Other species were marking human space as "Do Not Disturb" on their star charts. "Any regrets about how we handled the Zephyrians?" asked his aide. Luke thought about the question. "Seriously, we gave them every chance to leave peacefully. They chose to threaten our home and our people. What happened after that was their choice, not ours. The galaxy had learned that humans were not like other species. They didn't conquer worlds or build empires. But they also didn't kneel to anyone, no matter how powerful. Earth had claimed its place among the stars, not through conquest, but by proving that some worlds simply refused to be conquered.